Kenny Beatz is one of the few professionals who did live streams and gave away tons of game to the music producer community, as well as shared his entire beat making process. Through his countless live streams over the past couple years during the pandemic, there are 5 main tips that stuck with me and completely transformed the way that I make music forever. And today we're breaking down these motherfucking tips down. First and foremost, Kenny always talks about how important it is to add swings to your drums no matter what genre you're making. Now, there's 2 main ways that you can do this. The first way is turning on your delays right here. Now, it'll pull up a delay in milliseconds for each track. You can use this to put positive or negative delay on each of the tracks. Otherwise, what Kenny talks about doing most often, moving them off the grid manually, giving it a little bit of a delay. So in this beat, I left the 808 quantized. For the snare, you can see we're a little bit behind. On the hi-hat, if we go ahead and zoom in here, we're adding just a very, very small amount. Now for the open hat here, we actually pulled these ahead. So these are playing a little bit fast, as you can see, instead of behind. So that's something that you want to play with as well, bringing things in front and behind where the grid and the quantization would start. For the open hat, again, just pulled it back ever so slightly. Another thing Kenny preaches is to never sidechain your kick and 808. Personally, I agree and disagree depending on the context of your beat, but let me explain. I don't think you need to sidechain them together every single time. There's going to be times where your kick and 808 play together nicely out of the box, but there's going to be times where your kick and 808 just don't fit together perfectly, and instead of going ahead and finding another kick that sounds better with the 808, there's going to be times where you just want to use that kick. There's 2 main ways that I like to sidechain my kick and 808. Either I'm going to use an EQ and duck a certain frequency curve, or I'm going to use a volume ducker plugin, and each one has their pros and cons. Here's an example of a beat where the kick and 808 already played nicely together and I didn't need to use any form of sidechain. If we go ahead and solo the kick and 808s here, let's take a listen to how they sound. Yeah, so there's not really any interference there. You can hear the kick punch through nicely and it doesn't kind of block any of the transients or anything happening when the 808 plays at the same time. Now here's a situation where I thought the sidechain was necessary. In this beat, as you can see, I have a section where the 808 is playing by itself and then the kick gets introduced on the second half of the beat. Now, when the 808 is playing by itself, it's clipping. It's going crazy, right? Let's actually look at the volume levels here. You can see we're hitting almost 4 dB above. I want the kick to go ahead and dominate that 808. So what I ended up doing is using this GM Audio Ducker plugin right here, which goes ahead and ducks the actual volume of the 808. Now, once we go ahead and apply the audio ducker, it's going to allow that kick to hit. You're going to be able to hear the sound of the kick better, and the 808 isn't going to go ahead and distort with it as much. And there you go. You can also use an EQ to sidechain, and this gives you a more clean result, but it's not going to give you results that are absolutely crazy like this, where the volumes are hitting super high, right? That's where you'd want a volume ducker or some other method to go about doing that. But if you guys want to see the full step-by-step breakdown of how I go ahead and sidechain my kick and 808 when it's necessary, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to that video on the top of this one right now. Next is Kenny's infamous trick to make any one-note 808 pattern sound expensive and hard. By the way, I want to mention that this trick isn't exclusive to just 808 patterns that are one note all the way across, but it does sound really great with those. Here's an example of an 808 pattern that I made where the root note is a D, and if it's following the melody, the D plays all the way across. Pause. So instead of leaving it just as D, maybe we use some octaves of D as well. I wanted to go ahead and pull in this trick where we go ahead and use 2 other notes that are descending like this towards the end of the 4 and 8 bars. And what it does is it livens up the 808 pattern so much more, and it plays right into the next set of 4 or 8 bars. And if you guys need some new sounds, I highly recommend our Blizzard Storm drum kit. Not only does this have every sound you're gonna need to make fire beats. It also has our top effect preset racks. For instance, if we go under our 808s, we have our 808 effect rack, and this thing is going to have a hard-hitting 808 right out of the box. Let me show you. So if I take everything that's on here on my 808 channel and delete it right now, so all that we're left with is our 808 MIDI. Let me just go ahead and double click this effect rack on here, and let's just press play and see how it sounds in our beat. And it's really that easy. So if you guys want to check out the Blizzard Storm drum kit, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. Another thing that I learned from Kenny Beatz is the sidechain swell. And you're going to want to use this to accentuate any of your drums to punch through the mix even harder than they already are. He uses this on his kick drum a lot, but you can also use this on your snares or any drum that you want crushing through the mix. You're going to use a plugin such as a compressor, a volume ducker, or some plugin where you can go ahead and sidechain. So you can use this on your drum group, for example, or I like to use this on my melodies all the time as well. So in this example, I took this drum group right here, which has every single drum that's in my beat, and I put a GM audio ducker on here, and we're going ahead and sidechaining it to the kick. You can also use one of Ableton's compressors to do this as well. Let's take the glue compressor, for example. What you're going to want to do is click this button down right here, click sidechain, and then you can pick your kick or your snare, whatever you want it to sidechain, and then you're just going to go ahead and play with these different values to go ahead and get it to sit how you want. But if we listen to how this sounds without any ducking out of the box, let's just go ahead and turn this on and see what it sounds like. And number 5, I had to save the best for last, beat arrangement. But not necessarily just the basic arrangement for the chorus, the drop, the bridge, and how everything's structured that way. I'm more so talking about how elements get reintroduced and taken out throughout the beat to keep it interesting the whole entire way. One thing you can do is add on different instruments to your melody after every 8 bars. As you can see in this melody right here, you can see that I have this vibra piano coming in after the first part of the drop right here. You can see then I take it away and add it back, and I'm adding different elements the whole way through. Another cool method that you could do is you could take part of your melody and you could pitch it up or down an octave after every set of 8 bars. Another awesome thing that I love to do is add a layered snare after the first 8 bars of the drop. So you can see I have a regular snare playing right here, but if I go ahead and duplicate this, I'm going to get rid of it on the first bar, and when the second bar comes in, I'm going to pick a crazy snare to come in and really accentuate it. You could also introduce a second 808 pattern. Now, something that you should always be doing when it comes to arrangement is taking sounds away and bringing them back. So in this beat right here, you can see at this first bar right here, you can see that the 808 dips out. You can also see that the side snare is dipping out and also the open hat. And that's leading into the kick being introduced on the second set of 8 bars. And here we go, we're gonna take away the kick again and the other elements. And there you go, as you can hear, just the 808 rolling by itself before that next set comes in. So if you wanna see exactly the step-by-step process that I take to make my 808s hit like a mofo in Ableton, you're gonna wanna check out this video next.